Welcome to the Gaggle, where we talk politics in Arizona and beyond. This week, how supportive are Arizonans in Congress to the Trump agenda, and how friendly are relations between foster parents and the Department of Child Safety. But first, we start with an unusual request that Secretary of State Michelle Reagan got from the Trump administration. What was it, and what did they want?
Chris Kobach, who is vice chair of the Election Integrity Commission created by Trump through an executive order in May, asked for a variety of information about voters, their voting history, last four digits of Social Security numbers, birth dates, etc., etc. At first, before she received this request, as did all 50 secretaries of states across the country, she indicated that she would be handing over a portion of this type of information that would be otherwise gained through records requests, information that is routinely provided to political groups or the political parties. And after hearing from 1,000 or so of her constituents via email and many more on social media, she reversed course, backtracked, said on Monday as we approached the holiday that she would be rejecting the request.
And with this, she joins the vast majority of states which are rejecting this request from the Trump Commission, saying it's just going above and beyond. Reagan was getting pushback, as Yvonne said, not only from constituents, but also some of the county recorders, who are actually the people that control the data, that control voter registration, saying this sort of goes beyond the bounds of what state legislation allows. And I still have a question of why even indicate that you would share even some of that data before you get the letter? You know, is it, I don't know. I mean, Reagan knows Kobach. You know, he endorsed her in her race for Secretary of State in 2014. You know, perhaps there's an ongoing relationship, but that's probably not so rosy right now.
And the law prohibits some of that being shared, right?
Very much. The law is specific about for what purposes voter data can be shared. It can be shared for elections. So figure out if that has anything to do with the Kobach Commission, for verifying candidate signatures, and for news gathering. That seems to be the limit according to Arizona law.
So Ron, you've been tracking how friendly Arizonans in Congress are to the Trump agenda and the second quarter numbers that are in. What have you found?
Shockingly, the Republican members of our delegation are extremely supportive of the Trump agenda by at least one measure. This is taking a look at the roll call votes where the Trump administration's policy preference is known. So if Trump himself has spoken in favor of a bill and advocates passage of it, for example, they would look at that bill. If one of his agency heads also took the similar position, that would be how they sort of gauge what bills are the ones where the administration has shown its preference. And what we've seen is that 96% of the congressional Republicans from Arizona have been supportive of the bills that Trump himself has advocated for. 74% of in Democrats' case, 74% have rejected the Trump administration's positions. There is some nuance, though, within those kind of bright line differences. So most of the Republicans for the state have voted against Trump's agenda only once. 4 out of our 5 have only voted against his wishes one time. For 3 of them, it was on the spending bill in May that kept the lights on for the government, which is better than we've done at the moment.
Pay our bill.
That's right. Martha McSally is the one who voted only once against Trump's agenda, and in that case it had to do, I think, with medical malpractice claims and how high the ability to sue in those matters. Andy Biggs is the only one among Republicans who had voted more than once against the Trump agenda. That most notably included the health care vote that passed in May. For Democrats, there are really kind of two classes of Democrats. Those who will vote with the Trump agenda from time to time, and those who don't seem to ever vote for the Trump agenda. Kyrsten Sinema and Tom O'Halloran, 2 Democrats holding relatively competitive seats. They vote with the Trump agenda from time to time. Gallego and Grijalva, they're pretty safe, and they're not liking what they see.
So Mary Jo, it's safe to say that the Department of Child Safety and foster parents have this sort of love-hate relationship, and we saw sort of another example of this in a recent episode.
Yes, I was going to say the newest episode, the director of DCS, Greg McKay, sent out a letter to foster families. DCS really wants to get kids out of group homes and congregate care. It's not a good place generally to be. So he's asking foster families, do you have room for one more? Could you take in more kids? And we're really looking at older kids, kids 7 and up. Do you have room? This goes out, and foster parents are responding a lot with anger, saying, we're here. We want them. We've been asking. I've been looking for, a girl aged 12 and up for months, and I can't get anything from you folks. So there's a disconnect there between the agency and some of the foster families that are working with them. The hope is that this will maybe open up a few more doors. DCS said that it got an initial 100 responses from people saying, yeah, we're interested in doing this. What we don't know yet is how many of those are people saying, yeah, but we've been trying for a long time. So there's more we need to look at about why some of these requests are not being fulfilled by foster families.
So what are you watching for this week, Yvonne?
I want to know if the federal judge who is overseeing the fraud bribery case involving the former corporation commissioner and former power player lobbyist is going to seal those records.
Ron?
Healthcare, it's always on our front burner, it seems.
Mary Jo?
I think we'll be back looking a little bit at some of those foster care situations.
Well, thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back next week.